looked through it because I had a telephoto lens on the camera. And about the same time I saw that giant bear, it saw me and it screamed. And that's when it was not a bear. And it decided to come after us. And that thing, like, went across the creek like it was nothing. And I'll tell you, we took off running. Because also when it screamed, it was echoing because it was at the base of the side of the mountain there. All I can tell you is what I saw was a big creature, weighed well over 500 pounds. I would say close to 8 feet. And I found so interesting, it ran, you ready for this, for a good laugh? It ran between 2 legs and 4 legs. 2 legs and 4 legs.
Wow.
And it chased us all the way back to where the car was parked, which was not near the road. It was on a side road. It was kind of overgrown. And we get to the car, and I notice off the tree line, there's a Bigfoot. Now, I don't know if it was his mate or the same one, but it was there when we got there. And it was bending a tree over like it was nothing, like about a 4 or 5 inch tree.
Wow.
And it screamed. I got into that car like you wouldn't believe. I started up, and I didn't even think about my friend. And he was just opening the car door, and I actually was dragging him for about 25, 30 feet. And all of a sudden, the car gets hit with a rock. Like it took out the passenger front fender and part of the door. To me, whatever it was did not give off orbs. It didn't... I didn't see any UFOs. I didn't see any warm and fuzzy, friendship offering. What I seen was a threat, and it scared me like I was never scared before. I served in Vietnam. I was in the military. And I'll tell you, I was more scared then than I've ever been in my whole entire life, Paul.
Wow. Well, thank you for your service, too.
Oh, thank you, and thank you for yours.
Yeah, and what's amazing is, some of my paranormal investigators, they say, hey, Paul, we would like to do more cryptids. And come to find out, right here in Sacramento, there's a lot of cryptid sightings, and I was really shocked. Along the Sacramento River, they even did a thing with News 10. In fact, I was involved with it. But the Sacramento River is full of different type of cryptids. In the Sacramento River, this is not a cryptid, but one time there was Humphrey the whale that came up the Sacramento River. And if a whale can come up the Sacramento River from the ocean, the Pacific Ocean, then a sea serpent can also, too, go up the Sacramento River. And there's been sightings in the Sacramento River, not a lot of sightings, but 2 PG&E guys actually contacted me because they said they saw a sea serpent in the Sacramento River. And that was the only report that I received. But then I was told that Folsom Lake at one time had a sea serpent or a lake serpent. And also, too, people see giant salamanders located on the Sacramento River.
Now, I got to ask you a question,
Now,
Paul. How big were these critters, the 2 salamanders? How giant? I've heard reports of them huge. I mean, how big were these?
About 5 feet in length. And also, too, at Laguna. Okay, now get this. I got a report at Laguna Creek Wetlands, which I live very close to. There was a sighting of a giant salamander. Okay. And I have what is called the paranormal hotline. So I get calls all the time from different people on different things. And this story, and this guy said he was walking his dog and he saw this giant salamander. It was about 5 feet in length. And so being a writer, I went ahead and wrote a little article about it. I published it in one of my books and thought nothing of it. And I go through the Laguna Creek wetlands all the time with my dogs, and I never seen anything. But then I got contacted by two individuals from UC Davis, and they're studying to be biologists, and they actually had a giant salamander, and they released it in the Laguna Creek wetlands. They believe that giant salamander is something that they released. And I said, okay, well, that just really validates that story, because for a while there, I wasn't believing it. And then I'm watching the news, and they talk about giant salamanders seen at Sacramento River. So it looks like we may have giant salamanders out there, but I've never seen them.
Now, are they aggressive at all? Has there been any reports? Has there been any reports of these salamanders being aggressive towards, wildlife or humans?
Oh, no. When the one individual who was walking his dog, he said it was sort of like on the embankment, and then just went into the water slowly when the dog started barking. So he just slowly went into the water, but yeah, very harmless, yeah. And then I did some researching, and giant salamanders, I mean, they have pictures of people actually holding them, so they don't bite or anything like that. They seem pretty harmless.
I actually caught one.
You did?
Caught one.
How big was it, James, that you caught?
It was, the one I caught was 35 years ago. It was in the local river here in Ohio, and I was fishing for catfish off the bottom. And it was about 2.5, 3 foot long, kind of yellowish looking. And when I got into shore, it was making all kind of ungodly noises, like, and it was weird, but it was big. Its head was wider than the body. Its head was probably like 8 inches wide. It was weird looking. It looked like a big tadpole with legs, kind of, is what it looked like. It was weird. We catch them here all the time, kind of small, but this was a big one. It was 2.5, 3 foot long. So I know what he's talking about.
James, when you caught it, was it slimy and everything, or?
Yeah, it had like a slime, like on its skin. I don't know if it was like something that permeates, or if it's something natural, or what it was, or just something with the river in my area. But it was kind of slimy. Yeah, it was.
Huh. Well, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm a little bit jealous. I would love to catch a giant salamander. Well,
I've caught several salamanders. Never that big. It was huge. It was the biggest one I'd ever seen here locally. And now I'm sure people may have caught them before and after me. I don't know, but it was the biggest one I know personally because I caught it.
Oh, wow.
Wow, that's amazing.
Well, in your area, California, by the way, my heart goes out to, I guess there was a major fire in California today. I'm trying to think the name of the town, but that it was a big fire where it was taking out or going to take out a lot of homes, and that the fire department, were dumping water on it, with helicopters and stuff like that. I posted it up on Facebook today, but it was one of the big fires out there that got out of control really fast.
That was in 1977. I was a California firefighter with the California Division of Forestry, and it's one job that I quit because I was fighting a fire up in the Sierras, and I felt the heat on my face, and I heard my hair. I could feel it burning. I could smell it. And I basically, the day that I quit, I threw down the hose and got up on the fire truck, folded my arms across, and looked at the captain. Captain yelled at me to come down, and I said, sorry, I quit. It was just too much for me. But I give a lot of credit, and those firefighters out there are heroes. But it's not a job for me. It was not in my blood.
Yeah, that's scary because a lot of firefighters die every year out, in the forest.
Oh, yeah.
it's scary because, you know, all of a sudden the fire can get all around them and they're trapped.
Oh, yeah. And not only that, if you talk to some firefighters, they believe that a fire could be a living thing because it breathes air, it deposits waste, it consumes food, you know, trees and stuff like that. It seems like it's intelligent. It moves from one tree to another tree for survival. I mean, so I've talked to a lot of firefighters who actually believe in their hearts that it's a cryptid. It's actually a living thing.
Possibility. You know, at Mount Shasta, when you were talking to that, when I was a young kid, you know, I get all these people on Bigfoot hunters. They'll come on and say, oh, Mount Shasta, you know, there's no bear, you know, and all this stuff. I said, no. When I was a kid, now I'm old, I'm going on 68, but when I was probably 8, 9, 10 years old, my uncle who lived up in Oakland, he would go to Mount Shasta, you know, every year because there's a Shasta Lake there. It's beautiful. They would go there and he would go hunting for bear. And that's why I asked you if you had protection, because he saw a bear. He shot the bear, but he didn't do a kill shot. And the bear mauled him and he almost died. I mean, he was scarred for life badly. And that's when I'm saying I get people on, if you're going to go out in the woods, you need some type of protection because you got cougars, you got, depending on where you're at, mountain lions, you got bear. And the reason why I also say that, when I saw whatever I saw up the Canadian Rockies, you know, afterwards we had to drive like about 15 miles away from that place. And we ran into a little store and we were talking to the guy. And he was knowing that we were really shook up. And we told him we saw a Bigfoot. And he says, you're still lucky. Because he said a week before that, a guy and his wife went out hiking in the woods in that same rough area. And she got hurt or something, so he went to get help. By the time he went and got help and they got back there, she was half eaten.
Wow.
By bears.
And it's funny that you mentioned bear because today, working at Department of Fish and Wildlife, some of our bear hunters came in and they have to decapitate the bear because I have to pull out the tooth. And we send the tooth to the biologists, and they look for disease, the age of the bear, possibly what they're eating, and their migration. So that tooth is very helpful for the biologists.
Interesting. How many bears are still in existence? I mean, you guys have some. Must know how many is still roughly.
Well, they have a limit on the bears taken. It's like 1,700 or something like that. So, so when they get to that limit, or whenever bear season ends, that's it. You can't kill any more bears. But they keep on bringing the bear heads in. So, and I keep on, pulling the teeth. So. There's a lot of bears out there.
Oh, wow. Well, anyway, we're about ready to go to break. Do you have about a question you can ask, James, before we go on break?
Yeah, I just real curious. Do you think the Bigfoot are biological cryptid, or you think they're more of a spirit or an alien?
I believe that it's a interdimensional type creature. That's why we can't get one a living Bigfoot. We can't capture one because it goes from one reality to another reality, and somehow they're associated with UFOs. So maybe it's possible that the aliens created it with DNA for whatever purpose, and they exist, but they go from reality to another reality. There's even cases where hunters say that they shot at a Bigfoot and it turned into sparks. So if it turned into sparks, that's energy. So possibly they're interdimensional.
Yeah. Interesting. We're going to be on break. We'll be back in about 3.5 minutes. You're listening to Night Dreams Talk Radio. This is Gary. Our guest tonight is Paul Roberts. We're going to be talking about cryptids. We'll be back after this.